Hello, my name is Andrew Silla. Today, let's talk about the Canon R7, what it's used for, what it can be used for, what its perks are, goods, bads, all of it. Let's dive right into it.
Driving around in California, looking for something to make.
Just to preface, I am only going to be talking about the video aspects. I'm not really a photographer. I don't really take photos that much, so yeah. The Canon R7 was released on June 23rd, 2022, and I got it basically when it came out. I've had it since then. I've used it for many things, from weddings to live MMA events, vlogging even. I've used it basically on every shoot I've been hired to do. I've gone to anything like that. So this thing can definitely hold its own. So what exactly is the R7? It's a 32.5 megapixel APS-C sensor. It's not full frame, but that should not deter you from thinking about buying this camera. It's a mirrorless APS-C sensor that does 4K 60 C-Log 3, the 7K resolution downsized to 4K. So there's just going to be much more detail on that 4K, which is amazing. The body itself, it shares quite similar to the EOS R. It takes LPE6 batteries and has dual card slots. I just want to get the specs out of the way. Like I mentioned before, I'm not really a specs guy. So let me just tell you what my personal experiences are with this camera. So, like I mentioned, I've used this on weddings, I've used this on live MMA events, I've used this basically any shoot. This was my main go-to main driver of a camera. This was my main one. Of course, I have the C100 Mark 1 or Mark 2. I had the Mark 1 as well, but I have the C100 Mark 2, and that was my other camera that I used for stationary shots. So this was mainly my run and gun gimbal camera, especially for weddings. I've always had this on the gimbal. It produces amazing quality videos for sure. And I have to say, I've gotten used to the R8's body, and this feels bulkier, a lot bulkier than normal. But if you only share with the R style bodies or even the DSLR 90D, 80D, you'll feel right at home. For me, I feel like it's gone a little bit more bulkier than what I'm used to now. So if you have bigger hands, you're gonna feel right at home, really. And with the addition of Canon Log 3, it's definitely an experience to have. I never really used to shoot with Canon Log, well, because I never really had it. The C100 Mark II did shoot Canon Log, the first one, not 3, and my previous camera that I had was the 90D, and that had no log. So I just downloaded a flat picture profile, put that in the camera, and basically just use that. But with the addition of Canon Log 3, it's definitely a step forward in getting a better quality look and feel to a video. Of course, there's a little bit of a learning curve with Canon Log. You'd have to know how to expose for it. You'd have to know how to color grade it and just deal with this new style of video baked into your camera. So Canon Log 3 plus. With the Canon 90D, my previous camera that was my daily driver before, it didn't have 4K 60. So with the addition of 4K 60, it just made all the difference for sure. Because for me, when I'm at a job for a wedding, my main go-to is 4K 60. If not, 1080p 60. As long as I have slow motion, I usually use that frame rate for weddings, which, is normal. But with 4K 60, it just made it so much better. As for getting used to the menu and settings and all that, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty easy to navigate, and if you're a Canon user, you'll know. As for the layout and buttons, everything feels great. I know exactly what to push, when to push it for what I exactly need. You can customize any of the buttons really to suit your needs in run and gun situations or sitting here and talking like this. It's definitely something I miss when using the R8. The R8 doesn't really have the button layout, the same button layout. It shares a similar layout to the RP, so it's definitely something to get used to. But if you use any DSLR, 90D, 80D, anything like that, you might get additional things, but you'll for sure feel right at home just navigating the buttons. And for my MMA events, I've usually used this on a gimbal for establishing shots, for the venue, any minor details, anything that requires a gimbal. So basically anything that needs buttery smooth footage. I never really used this as my main go-to for fight footage in terms of filming an MMA event. The only reason being is because my Canon C100 Mark II has longer lasting batteries, the file sizes aren't crazy, and it shoots 4K downsampled to 1080. So I got really good quality for a small amount of data pushed into an SD card with basically limitless battery for that event. And I'm not even joking, one battery from that C100 Mark II lasted me the entire event. So that's why I used the C100 Mark II to mainly film the fights, while this was on the gimbal and I needed it to capture fighters walking in or the ring girls going in the cage or any detail or venue shots that required a gimbal. With 4K 60, it just made for a real smooth shot. What I can see people having a gripe with is that it's not full frame. I've been shooting non-full frame for the past, I'd say, what year is it? 2023. For the past 5 to 6 years, I've been on Super 35 and APS-C sensors. I've never experienced full frame. I used to not know the benefits of it and the effect that having full frame affects how the quality is of your videos. I didn't experience that. I've always shot on APS-C, I've always shot on Super 35. And to be honest, people who complain that it's not full frame, that it's not, that it's not full frame and it's bad to use APS-C, I don't think they know what they're talking about. I'll be honest, I don't even think that they really shoot anything if they have time to complain about, oh, it's not full frame, you shouldn't get it. No, stick to a budget. Know what you need. If that camera meets your needs and it draws back on some aspects, but it doesn't affect you, leave it. It's fine. Just get what you need. Set a budget aside, and if it meets your needs, perfect. You don't need full frame. You don't need an expensive camera body. The only thing that I'd say is important is probably lens and audio. Not full frame, doesn't matter. You're still gonna get a beautiful image, but I'll agree on one thing. Low light. This camera, the R7, doesn't do good in low light. Because it's an APS-C size sensor, you're not getting the benefits of low light from a full frame sensor. Of course, you can just pair this with a low light lens and you're good. My main go-to is the 18-35 f1.8 from Sigma, and that usually gets me by. Problem solved. And now that I brought up audio, I'm actually using a Rode NTG here. This is my first time using it because I'm shooting on the R8, and I'm using my NTG it's right here, and I'm using it to record. But because it's my first time using audio with the R8, I had a backup, so I'm recording also on my Tascam 32-bit float. I've heard about it, but never really used it. Didn't really know what it did, but all I can say is it's amazing, especially for weddings. Okay, anyways, yeah. It does struggle in low light, so take that with caution. We'll find a way to work around it. And for example, on wedding situations, I actually have lights that I can put on tripods and aim it down at the couple for stances, for speeches, anything like that. For example, I have this YN216 light. It's very affordable, super cheap in relative terms, but it is powerful. This is at 1 bar. So I'm currently shooting at 1/50th of a second f2, C-Log 3 at 12,500, 1,250 ISO. And this is just on level 1. If I crank it up all the way, you can work around having struggles with your camera, the R7, at low light situations. Just spend a little bit on things that make a difference and not having to actually upgrade to a full frame camera that costs $3,000 when you could just buy this for, even used, maybe $1,000, $1,200, somewhere around there. And that's also what I wanted to touch up on. The price for this camera, like I mentioned, you can get it used for maybe $1,000 to $1,200 Canadian, and if you buy it new, it's still relatively cheaper than most cameras. With the amount of specs you get and the quality, the image that you get with this camera, yeah. So if you were to get it new with just the body, Amazon sells it for $1,500. So you could probably get that down to $1,200 if you get it used. $1,500, and then you get a good lens with it. That's basically your setup. That's an entire kit that you really need to get started. So who would I recommend it for? I hate this question because you can use any camera and get good quality image, good quality photos, videos, everything if you just know how to use it. If you know the techniques of filming, the ways to get good footage, get good photos. Doesn't matter what you use. So the answer to who is this for? Everybody, really. For people who are just starting out, it's a perfect camera. It doesn't break the bank relatively, but it also gives you great quality videos and photos for that low of a price. But here is the other side of things. I also think it's a perfect A camera or B camera for people who are looking to expand their kit. If you're coming from a 90D or 80D T8i, perfect camera to upgrade to, because you're going to get introduced to the RF system. If this is a first mirrorless camera for you, it's a good stepping stone for sure. And you're getting a lot of pro features in this camera. C-Log 3, 4K 60, the ability to use RF glass, and so much more. So using it professionally and not just for people starting out, I definitely recommend still. I think this would be a much better camera for those who are getting these more high-end cameras, R6 Mark II, R6, R5, R5C, C70. Sure, you have all those specs. You have all those options of shooting higher quality videos, but do you actually know how to use the camera? So this is a great starting point and also professional point of expanding your kit. I've used this for more than a year and it's served me well since. Am I gonna let this go? Nope, probably not. I'm still gonna use it. I'm still gonna use the hell out of it. I upgraded to the R8, which I will save to another video, because when you look at it, you might think the R7 is better than the R8, and there's like a lot of drawbacks from using the R8. So that'll be another video. But until then, thanks for watching. Peace.